college students, we are bargain hunters. No one would even think of buying new textbooks when you could just buy them used, nor do you go shopping without a sale or a coupon code. One of the only things we don't shop around for is the energy our families use in our homes. According to recent estimates, the average American family uses over $2,000 for energy every year. But this is really unnecessary. After I shopped around for the best energy solutions, I realized that solar energy equipped with solar tracking systems could save us a ton of money in our homes. As a mechanical engineering student, and as someone personally interested in using solar trackers in my home, I've spent a lot of time researching this. But until recently, I discovered it hasn't really been viable in residential areas. This is because people just throw solar panels on their roof and don't really think about how they could be used most effectively, like this family. As I discussed in my last speech, in order to properly use solar panels, you need to take into effect the orientation and angle of the sun. For instance, in the summer, the sun is a lot higher in the sky, and in the winter it's a lot lower. And also, as everyone knows, the sun starts out in the east during the day and sets in the west. But if the panel is just fixed on the roof, then it's not taking any of this into account. So the panel can never be used at maximum efficiency. But the inefficiencies associated with fixed solar panels can be remedied by using a solar tracking system. Throughout my presentation, I will explain what solar trackers are, how they can increase efficiency, and how they're also economical for homeowners to invest in. But before you understand the big picture, you have to understand exactly what are solar trackers. Well, basically, they're a system that a traditional solar panel is mounted on that allows the panel to pivot and move throughout the day and the year. They pivot in the north-south direction in order to adjust from season to season, and they also pivot in the east-west direction in order to change throughout the day. This is done by taking some of the energy that the panel uses and putting it into a motor, which then uses a linear actuator, which takes the rotational motion of the motor and changes it into linear motion of pushing the panel. Since the sun's something that's pretty consistent and that you can kind of count on to do the same every day, you just have to make sure the linear actuator moves at the same pace and it can track the panel as it moves through the sky. But since this uses some of the energy, wouldn't it seem like it would be less efficient? Well, actually it's much, much more efficient because solar trackers ensure that the panels are always perpendicular to the sun, which is where solar panels have their maximum efficiency, kind of like their sweet spot, as you might say. As you can see, dual-axis tracking systems keep both the east-west direction and the north-south direction of the sun's rays perpendicular to the panel, where in the fixed frames there's an incident angle, which doesn't allow the maximum amount of energy to be absorbed. And even though this just seems like a small amount of energy that is being lost, according to the Center of Renewable Energy Development, which is an agency based out of Algeria, which is doing a ton of solar research, solar tracking panels are approximately 40% more efficient than the traditional fixed panel system. This accounts for about 3 more hours of sunlight that you could produce energy for a day, which is a lot of energy. But initially, people didn't really buy into these. It works on paper, but it had to be so exact to actually pick up the right amount of solar energy. But Dr. Sagebell, who is a leading researcher out of Nevada, he wanted to prove this. He wanted to prove that solar panels could actually be used in residential areas. So he installed a fixed system and a tracking system in his home and compared the results. As you can see in the blue system, in blue line, which is the tracking line, it has a much wider curve because it picks up a substantial amount more energy, whereas the fixed system has a lot narrower curve. This graph compares the time of day to the watts that the solar panels produced. And the tracking system and the fixed system, you might say like, oh, well they both produce the same at noon, but That's where the fixed system is set up to be optimized at. So just at that one point they're the same, and throughout the rest of the day, the tracking system is a lot more effective. So this study really solidifies that tracking systems can be used in residential areas and that they really are so much more efficient for homeowners. But in this economic crisis, a lot of Americans would be thinking, I don't have time or I don't have money to spend on new energy sources. But solar panels really are that much more economically feasible. According to Dr. Lau, who is the Associate Director of the Center of Sustainability here at Penn State, solar panels and solar tracking systems pay for themselves within 6 to 10 years. So, for instance, in the first about 7 years of having solar panels, you do have to pay more. That's true. But then 1 year, on your 8th year, you break even, and you're finally making money. You don't have to buy any energy off the grid, and you no longer have to pay for your solar panels. So you're saving about $2,000 a year. But one of the great innovations that's come out of the Linac Corporation, which is a solar tracking company that develops and manufactures solar panels, is that the new solar tracking systems have a 25 to 30 year lifetime. So this means that you save over $40,000 throughout the life of a solar tracking system. Now that's something worth investing in. In conclusion, solar tracking systems optimize the sun's valuable energy by making solar cells more efficient and cost-effective. So they can actually be used in residential homes. So the next time you complain about how high your energy bill is, do something about it. I mean, by investing in solar tracking systems, you can make a huge effort in the sustainability process and also put a dent in your budget. So, make a difference for the future. Invest in solar energy. Any questions?